This is Muhammad Hamouda. We are going to talk about the fourth chapter, preparation and the practice. Actually, preparation in this chapter we are from the title we are going to talk about two main things. Preparation, which is activities that you are to prepare yourself for a consecutive interpretation session. For example, or if you have an interpretation session, you need to prepare yourself before starting this session. Okay, practice. Practice refers to the activities also to prepare yourself or to train yourself. So, not necessary to have an interpretation session, a consecutive interpretation session, but you may want to train yourself and prepare yourself for the coming consecutive interpretation sessions. Actually, عفواً. Let's start our lecture with this main question. Why do we prepare? We have an interpretation session or we don't have an interpretation session. Why do we prepare? Actually, we have two main reasons. The first one, when you interpret about the topic, about a certain topic, then you become familiar with this topic, with its jargon, for example, with its certain expressions and terms of the topic. So when you listen to this topic, you will be more familiar with it and with its expressions and slogan. Okay, the second reason is to recall information more quickly. When you have these expressions about a certain topic stored in your mind, then you can recall them more quickly. If you do not have these expressions or you do not familiar with these expressions and they are not stored in your mind, then the process of recalling them will be more difficult and more slowly. Why? Because you do not have these expressions in your mind. General. Actually, in this lecture, preparation and practice, we should talk about or we will address three main things. The first one, general knowledge, topic preparation, and finally, language activation. Let us start with general knowledge. Actually, if you remember, in the first lecture we have talked about three main characteristics of the consecutive interpreter, and the third characteristic that we are talked about is is the consecutive interpreter should be knowledgeable, and this knowledgeable means that means to have general knowledge about different things such as about economics. You know some items or some principles of economics, some principles of, for example, geography, where is this country is where this country is located, and this country is located, and so on and so forth. For example, geography, some informations about geography, and some informations about politics, about international laws, and so on and so forth. These things constitute general knowledge. First of all, actually, general knowledge is a sort of preparation, sort of general preparation, and it should be practiced as a habit. How to practice general knowledge as a habit? Actually, for example, you can set to yourself a certain hour that every day you can read a book. You can read a book, or when you are going to your work or to your university, and while you are sitting in the car, you can use your headphones and listen to BBC News. Thus, in this way, for 15 minutes, for example, in this way, you can know a lot about different things, about the political situations, about, for example, the most or the recent scientific discoveries, and so on and so forth. It is a very so practiced as a habit, general knowledge should be practiced as a habit, and it is a sort of ongoing preparation. Thirdly, it is a type of background knowledge. How general knowledge becomes background knowledge? When general knowledge, when these items or sections or principles of certain study area, these things can be is stored in your long-term memory. When you interpret something related to this topic, you can store or recall, you can immediately recall from your memory, and recall these recalls can be is or can be the background knowledge. Okay, so the stored knowledge in your mind is the background knowledge. And how can you store knowledge? From listening, from continuous listening, continuous reading, continuous watching TV programs and documentary films, and so on and so forth. Actually, also, general knowledge is slow to acquire. You cannot acquire a huge amount of, of knowledge in a day and night. No, it comes over time. What means over? We mean that, or I mean that over time means that a long period of time, every day for several years, you listen to BBC in the morning, only 15 minutes to the, or every 2 months or 3 months, you read a book over. So you have read 4 books in a year, 15 books or 16 books over 4 years, and so on and so forth. The wider, the more you read, the more you listen, the more you watch TV and documentary programs, the more general knowledge you have. Also, general knowledge differs from place to place. How? I want to give you an example about language variation in social linguistics. Now, in Palestinian, in, in the Palestinian culture, we have three variations of qaf sound. For example, in Gaza, we say qaf, qalbi. In the West Bank, some people say, especially in villages, they say kaf instead of ka, ka instead of qaf. مثلا, they say kalbi. Uh, some other areas in Palestine say albi. So qaf is pronounced in three different variations: qaf, ka, و صح? Okay, as a Palestinian, I suppose that all Palestinians know these three variations of qaf sound. So it is general knowledge related to Palestine, to our country, or to our culture. While in uh, in Gulf states, they say instead of Jim, they say yeah. Instead of saying Rijal, they say Riyal. So, or Rayal. Ri- Rijal, they say Rayal. I mean, this is a general knowledge, not for Palestinians, for people of Gulf state people. So, the general knowledge is differs from a place to place, but sometimes we have general knowledge that is known all over the world. All people know, or all something يعني مشترك. All people or share this kind of knowledge. Okay, let us talk about types of general knowledge. Actually, we have universal general knowledge, and we have country specific general knowledge. Universal general knowledge that is shared by a lot of people living in different places in the world, such as principles of economics, such as international laws. International laws not only for specific people or a specific country, but they are international for all people. So these this kind of knowledge is universal general knowledge. Country specific general knowledge, it is related to a specific culture or a specific language or a specific country, as the story of Qaf variation in the Palestinian culture. It is it is the best example to country specific general knowledge. طيب, from where can you gain general knowledge? If you think about this, from where you can gain general knowledge. Actually, we have so many resources from the radio, from television, from documentary programs, from books, from f- from international conferences, and so on and so forth. So it is very, very wide question, and we have so many answers to this question. But I need you to think about more resources and share your ideas on the university page. Okay, the second, now we have finished this general knowledge. Now we are going to move about topic preparation. How to prepare a certain topic to train yourself for a consecutive interpretation session, or to prepare a topic. Okay, topic preparation. Actually, why do we prepare a topic? Actually, first of all, it is easier to interpret topics that you already know. When you are familiar with the topic, its principles, its items, its specific jargon, its specific expressions or related expressions. Thus, when you interpret, it becomes more easier to you to interpret and recall information. So, so try. Okay, let us answer this question. Is it is it preparation a time-consuming activity? time consuming يعني هل هل التحضير والاستعداد شيء مستهلك للوقت بيستنزف وقتك. Actually the answer yes, but how? Actually, as we said, it general knowledge or topic preparation, to prepare a topic, not only to read one article, but you need to read several articles, different articles from different resources, different you watch different programs in different, for example, TV channels. You need to watch different documentary programs. So uh, topic preparation, you need to prepare from different resources, from different articles and topics. So, first of all, how to prepare best? First of all, you need to pick up different articles. Then these articles target the same topic, not only some near related. No, you need these articles or the programs or films or documentary films that you are going to watch, are should be related directly to your topic. Because when you become familiar with the topic or with the different approaches of the same topic, then you have good understanding, and this gives you more confidence in interpreting because in interpretation because you have stored or you have recalled knowledge more quickly. Okay, now let us move to preparation in advance. Actually, you should be prepared before the session announced. Yeah, first of all, when you prepare in a when you prepare, first of all, you should start with an overview of the subject area. Not don't start with details. No, start first of all with an overview, then you can understand and then you can get a general understanding of the topic. But you need to read the topic from your own mother tongue, then you can specify the related terms, its related or certain terms and expressions, jargons, and so on. After that, you read the topic in the second language. Look for information in the second language. Then differentiate between the items that you are picked from the mother tongue and the corresponding items that you pick from the second language or the target language. Differentiate between them and make a list. More of these vocabularies. Okay, you need not only to read new information or recall new information, no, you need to find the most relative information. Even if you know this item, you should read or keep it in your mind be- or in your paper or or the dictionary you have made. Why? Because it is a very regulated item. Now, let us talk about different strategies for a preparation. The first strategy is looking for looking in a Wikipedia. Actually, Wikipedia in general is very excellent resource for what? For overviews. It gives you an overview of the topic, and this is the first step in preparation in advance. So, the first step is represented by Wikipedia, exploring Wikipedia website because it is a very excellent resource that gives you an overview or a general overview about the topic. Then it also provides explanations, not only an overview, but also it gives explanations for the related items. Okay, while you we have several Wikipedias. When the information is repeated, actually repetition is very useful because it enhances knowledge or enhances information or storing information, strengthen the stored information in your mind. Okay, also try to make connections between the topic that you are reading about and your language and the target language. So the connections should be in three directions. The first of all, you should connect the topic that you are reading with your mother tongue and with the target language. Okay, also Wikipedia's generally introduce the opposite views for against. The first view, which is agree, the second opposite view, and finally it may make a conclusion for the two opposite views. The second strategy upon is vocabulary lists. What is meant by vocabulary list? Actually, when you read a topic, you can read it from different resources, as we said, and picked up the certain or the most relevant items and expressions. Then you can write or you can read from your language. You can look for these expressions from the target language and try and differentiate between the source text language expressions and their equivalent terms in the target language. After that, creating lists, you can write them in lists, these items in lists. This is called vocabulary lists. So, first of all, you need to include the most relevant items, not necessary to be only new, but also the most relevant. Even if you know this item, but it is very related to the topic, you can write it in your vocabulary lists. Okay. Then you can use some software to extract these items for because vocabulary lists may be several or hundreds of pages, tens of pages. How it is impossible or to research for a topic to research for a specific item and pick it in seconds. No, you can keep these lists in a software program, and this software program can help you to extract the items or terms in few seconds. And it helps you know the most recurring or occurring terms. And now let us move to the third stage, which is language activation. Actually, language activation, when we start this lecture, we have talked about mm, why do we prepare. The second reason is to recall information quickly. Simply, this is activation. Activation in several in one, two, three, four, five, in five words only to recall information more quickly. This is the definition of activation. So, activation to recall information more quickly or require terms and expressions come more quickly in our minds and come quickly to our minds in our minds, meaning recalling these items and these expressions. Actually, activation is used in consecutive interpretation more than simultaneous interpretation. Because simultaneous interpretation, you can create vocabulary lists and you can use software programs to pick the item you need. For example, now in simultaneous translation, you have a laptop in front of your eyes and you can use software programs immediately. But in consecutive interpretation, you may not use any software programs on you stand and listen and interpret. This is so activation or storing information in your mind is more necessary in the consecutive interpretation than simultaneous one. Actually, you need to activate the most relevant ones, the most relevant terms. Even if you know them, you need to activate and keep them in a lost in new terms and expressions. Mm. Now, lastly, the last point is general steps for an interpretation preparation. First of all, you can read several texts about the topic, about a certain topic. Then you can decorate these or the most recurring items or the most important or the most related items in a different color, for example, pink or yellow or something like this. After that, you can write the translations of these items, or you can read several. Also, you can look for these or the equivalent terms of these expressions in the target language, and then write the translation of these items, which means creating vocabulary lists. After that, you can test yourself and creating a glossary, or creating a glossary then test yourself. And that's the end of our lecture. I hope that you get a lot of benefits from this session. If you have any question, feel free to ask me whenever you want. Thank you very much.